She was the most powerful woman in the galaxy, and she chose me for a shocking reason. Life on Vora 9, a remote mining planet on the edge of the galaxy, was predictable, hard, and lonely. Jaren had lived here all his life, fixing machinery, repairing broken robots, and making sure the colony ran smoothly. He liked his work, but sometimes, as he looked up at the endless night sky, he wondered if life had more to offer than dust, rocks, and routine. It was just another ordinary day when the sky tore open with a roar. Jaren froze, his wrench slipping from his hands. A massive spacecraft, sleek and shining like liquid metal, descended from the black heavens. Its engines glowed with a blue light that bathed the entire colony in an eerie glow. The ground trembled under its weight, and alarms blared across the mining station. People screamed and ran for cover, shouting warnings and predictions. "Stay calm! Stay calm!" Jaren shouted, even though his own heart raced like a hammer. He watched as the ship landed, its massive legs settling into the rocky surface. Smoke and sparks flew from the landing pads. The air smelled of ozone like before a storm. Then a ramp lowered from the ship and she stepped out. Adira Valen. The name alone sent shivers through every miner on Vora 9. She was legendary, a woman whose power and influence stretched across the galaxy. Entire star systems obeyed her, and her decisions could end wars or start them. Her presence was magnetic, terrifying, and awe-inspiring. Clad in a sleek black suit with glowing insignias, she walked down the ramp with an effortless grace. Her eyes scanned the colony, piercing through chaos with calm authority. People fell silent as she moved. Even the loudest voices trembled to whispers. And then, to Jaren's utter disbelief, she looked directly at him. "Jaren," she said, her voice calm but commanding, "you will come with me." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Jaren's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He had not expected this, not from anyone, and certainly not from Adira Valen herself. "Me," he stammered, pointing at himself. Why would you?" Her gaze did not waver. "Because you are the one I have been looking for, no one else, you, Jaren," the miners gasped. Murmurs spread through the colony like wildfire. Why would the most powerful woman in the galaxy choose him, a simple engineer from a backwater mining planet? The question filled the air, heavy and impossible to answer. Jaren's mind raced. Was this some kind of trick? A test? Did she think he had some hidden talent, some secret he had never known about? I don't understand," he said, shaking his head. "I'm just me. I fix machines, I mine rocks, I'm nothing special." Adira's eyes softened for a moment, just enough to hint at something beneath the surface. "That is exactly why I chose you. You are human. You are ordinary, yet capable of extraordinary thought. The galaxy is full of beings with great power, but only humans are unpredictable. Only humans can surprise even the most advanced minds." Jaren blinked. He had no idea what she meant. "Unpredictable, me?" "Yes," she said. "I have searched across systems, studied the greatest minds, the strongest warriors, the most brilliant strategists. But it is your simplicity, your creativity, and your ability to act without fear of perfection that makes you special. You will come with me whether you understand it now or not." Panic and excitement warred inside Jaren. Part of him wanted to run, to hide in the mines and pretend he never heard her words. But another part, the part that had always gazed at the stars and wondered if there was more, pushed him forward. Slowly he nodded. I'll go," he said, almost in disbelief himself. Adira gave a faint smile, and without another word she turned and gestured for him to follow. The crowd parted, giving them a wide path to the ship. Jaren followed, his heart pounding so loudly that he was sure it could be heard across the landing pad. Inside the ship, the world changed completely. The interior was vast, far larger than the outside suggested, filled with glowing panels, floating displays, and corridors that seemed to stretch into infinity. Advanced machinery hummed quietly, and robots moved efficiently through the halls, servicing the ship without a hint of human direction. "Where are we going?" Jaren asked, his voice echoing slightly in the massive chamber. "To the bridge," Adira replied. "There you will see what the galaxy is, and what your place in it might be." Jaren followed her up a ramp that seemed to hover in midair. As he reached the top, he froze. Before him lay a panorama of stars, planets, and entire fleets of ships moving like synchronized dancers. He could see star systems burning with life, nebulae glowing with colors he had no names for, and massive stations orbiting distant suns. It was breathtaking. This is incredible," he whispered. Adira watched him quietly. "It is easy to be amazed by the galaxy," she said. "But you will learn that wonder alone is not enough. It is insight, understanding, and action that truly matter. You have something in you that the galaxy needs, and soon you will see why." Jaren felt both terrified and honored. He had always thought of himself as insignificant, a small cog in the great machine of the universe. And yet here he was, hand-picked by the most powerful woman alive. He couldn't begin to imagine why or what he would be expected to do. The ship hummed and shifted, leaving Vora 9 behind. Through the observation window, Jaren watched the planet shrink into a tiny blue dot. All his old life, the mines, the routine, the simple safety, was gone in an instant. He was leaving for the unknown, chosen for reasons he did not yet understand. "Where are we going first?" he asked, trying to mask the trembling in his voice. "First, you will meet the council," Adira said, her tone calm and decisive. "Then you will begin your training. And then," she paused, looking out at the stars, "you will face a choice that may decide the fate of millions, but that is for later. For now, you must understand that nothing will ever be the same." Jaren swallowed hard. "I'll do my best," he said. "You will need more than your best," Adira said, a faint smile playing on her lips. "You will need to think like a human, act with courage, and trust yourself even when the odds are impossible. That is why I chose you. Not because of strength, not because of skill, but because you are human." The words settled over him like a mantle. Fear, excitement, and awe mingled in his chest. He felt tiny yet strangely powerful, ordinary yet capable of extraordinary things. The journey ahead was uncertain, terrifying, and full of challenges. But for the first time in his life, Jaren felt that he belonged to something greater than himself. As the ship sailed into the vast blackness of space, Jaren gazed out at the stars. Each point of light seemed to whisper promises of adventure, of discovery, and of a future he had never dared to imagine. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that whatever lay ahead, life would never be ordinary again. And so, the most ordinary man on Vora 9 began his journey into the extraordinary, chosen by the most powerful woman in the galaxy for a reason he had yet to understand, but one that would soon change everything. The vast interior of Adira Valen's flagship was unlike anything Jaren had ever seen. The walls glimmered with panels of glowing light, displaying star maps, energy readings, and data from faraway planets. Robots moved with quiet precision, servicing the ship, while holographic displays floated mid-air, showing fleets of ships in orbit around distant suns. Jaren followed closely behind Adira, feeling more like a child than an adult, awed by the scale and complexity of it all. "Where exactly are we going?" he asked, his voice small against the hum of the massive ship. "To the council chamber," Adira replied without turning. Her boots clicked against the polished floor, echoing faintly in the enormous corridor. "You will meet beings from every corner of the galaxy, leaders, scholars, strategists, most of whom wield power far greater than you can imagine." Jaren swallowed nervously. He had never imagined leaving his mining colony, let alone standing in a room full of the galaxy's most influential figures. He felt ordinary, small, and out of place. And yet, Adira's calm presence beside him gave him a strange sense of purpose. As they walked, she explained more about why she had chosen him. "Humans are unpredictable," she said. "Strong, yes. Clever, yes. But more than that, you act from instinct, from empathy, from choices that cannot always be predicted or calculated. I have watched civilizations crumble under the weight of logic alone. The galaxy is full of beings who are brilliant, strong, or fast, but too many lack imagination, courage, or the ability to think beyond the obvious. That is why I chose you, Jaren." He stopped in his tracks, turning toward her. "Me, I'm just ordinary. I fix machines. I don't see what I could possibly offer that anyone else couldn't." Adira turned to him, her expression serious. "It is precisely because you are ordinary that you can do extraordinary things. You are not bound by the expectations, pride, or rigid thinking of those who have always had power. You are human, and humans are different. That difference, right now, is what the galaxy needs." Jaren blinked, trying to understand. "But how do you know that I'm the right one?" She smiled faintly. "I have searched, across systems, planets, and starships. I have observed your kind for centuries. Humans are rare in the galaxy, and among them, only a few have what it takes to act decisively when everything seems impossible. You are one of them." They arrived at a massive chamber, circular in shape, its walls lined with transparent panels revealing the stars beyond. At the center of the room floated a large table shaped like an irregular star, around which sat beings of every imaginable form. Some had scales that shimmered like precious metals, others had multiple eyes or limbs, some radiated light, while others were surrounded by a faint, almost imperceptible field of energy. All eyes turned toward Jaren as he and Adira entered. "Your Majesty," one of the alien leaders said, bowing deeply. "You have brought an engineer." Adira ignored the question. She gestured to Jaren. "He is more than that. He is human, and humans think differently. That difference may decide the fate of this galaxy." The council members exchanged glances. Some looked skeptical, others curious, but all listened as Adira continued. "We face challenges no one else can foresee. The decisions before us require more than knowledge or power. They require insight, courage, and sometimes the ability to act without knowing the outcome. That is why Jaren is here." Jaren's head spun. He had expected adventure, perhaps danger, but never this. Sitting among the galaxy's most powerful beings, he felt like a grain of dust in an endless storm. Yet, as he glanced at Adira, her calm confidence steadied him. Somehow, she believed he could contribute to matters far beyond his understanding. "You will undergo training," Adira said. "But it is not training in combat or technology alone. It is training in thought, in strategy, and in judgment. You will face situations designed to challenge what you know, what you believe, and what you think is possible. And through it all, you must remember, your greatest strength is your humanity." A council member whose skin shimmered like liquid silver leaned forward. "And what makes a human different enough to stand among us?" Adira's eyes met Jaren's. "Humans act without overthinking, yet they can plan beyond imagination. They balance risk with empathy. They can inspire hope where others see only despair. And above all, they can surprise even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Jaren will show us what that means." For the first time, Jaren felt a spark of pride mixed with fear. He was ordinary, yes, but he had a chance to be extraordinary. He had no idea how or why or what would be asked of him, but he knew that leaving this opportunity behind was impossible. Over the next hours, he met members of the council personally. They questioned him not about his strength or his skills, but about his ideas, his instincts, and his ability to imagine solutions. One simulation projected a conflict between two alien worlds over a scarce energy resource. The council asked Jaren what he would do. He suggested solutions based on negotiation, compromise, and creative thinking, ideas that none of the advanced species had considered. The room went silent. "Interesting," Adira said quietly, almost to herself. "He sees patterns differently." Another test projected a system on the verge of collapse, a star about to go supernova, threatening millions of lives. Advanced algorithms suggested evacuation, containment, or even destruction to prevent further disaster. Jaren paused, observing, thinking not only of immediate safety, but of the long-term consequences. He proposed a delicate plan to stabilize the star temporarily, allowing time for evacuation without destroying habitats. The council murmured in astonishment. "You think differently," Adira whispered. "Exactly as I hoped." Despite the praise, Jaren remained uneasy. He did not fully understand his role. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted later, speaking privately with Adira as they walked along the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction. "I'm just me. I've never done anything like this before." "How can someone like me make a difference in a galaxy this big?" Adira stopped and looked out at the stars with him. "Because the galaxy does not need more beings who follow rules. It does not need more power or weapons. It needs insight, courage, and the ability to act with heart. You have all of that. That is why I chose you." Jaren shook his head, trying to grasp the enormity of her words. "It's too much. I don't even know where to start." "Start by believing that your perspective matters," Adira said. "You may be ordinary, but your thoughts are extraordinary. What you consider simple, others overlook. What you take for granted, others cannot imagine. Humans have always survived where others fail because you do not rely only on strength. You rely on creativity, empathy, and intuition. That is what the galaxy needs right now." For the first time, Jaren realized something he had never considered. He had been trained all his life in observation, problem-solving, and adaptation. Fixing machines, repairing systems, navigating dangers on Vora 9, all of it had prepared him in ways he had never imagined. He might be ordinary, but he was capable of extraordinary things. As the flagship traveled further into uncharted space, Adira showed him the enormity of the task ahead. Reports of conflicts, natural disasters, and mysterious phenomena filled the ship's displays. Entire civilizations were on the brink of collapse, and no single power could solve these crises alone. Yet she believed Jaren could contribute. "You will learn, Jaren," she said as she led him to a training chamber. "That strength alone does not protect the galaxy. It is strategy, foresight, and understanding that saves worlds. And you have what it takes to see beyond the obvious." Jaren looked around the chamber. It was filled with simulations, interactive holograms, and alien instructors who would teach him to navigate the galaxy not with might, but with mind and heart. For the first time, he felt that the ordinary life he had known was truly behind him. He nodded slowly, determination growing within him. "I'll try my best," he said, his voice firmer now. Adira smiled, a rare warmth in her gaze. "Your best will be enough. Remember this, Jaren, sometimes the smallest spark can ignite the greatest change. You are that spark." And as he began his first lessons, stepping into a world far beyond his imagination, Jaren understood the shocking truth of why he had been chosen. Not for strength, not for fame, not for power, but for being human. He had no idea what lay ahead, what dangers or challenges awaited him. But for the first time, he felt ready. The galaxy was vast, full of wonder and peril, but Jaren now knew that even someone as ordinary as him could leave a mark. And with Adira Valen guiding him, he was about to discover just how extraordinary humanity could be. The training chamber on Adira Valen's flagship was enormous, with walls that seemed to stretch into infinity and floors that glowed softly beneath their feet. Holographic screens floated in the air, displaying galaxies, star systems, and simulations of countless scenarios. Jaren stepped inside cautiously, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. He had left his ordinary life far behind, and now he was being asked to do things that went beyond anything he had ever imagined. "Your first trial," Adira said, her voice steady and commanding, "will not test your strength or your skill with machines. It will test your mind, your judgment, and your ability to act under pressure. You will face situations designed to challenge your perspective. Remember, you are not alone, but your choices must be your own." Jaren swallowed hard. "What kind of situations?" he asked. Adira's lips curved into a small smile. "Situations where ordinary logic will fail, where empathy, creativity, and courage must guide you. You must think like a human, act like a human, and trust yourself." A large holographic sphere appeared in the center of the chamber. It expanded rapidly, showing a simulated star system on the brink of chaos. 2 planets were in conflict, their populations on the verge of war over a limited energy resource. Cities burned, fleets clashed in orbit, and thousands of lives hung in the balance. "This," Adira explained, "is your first challenge. You must find a solution that prevents conflict while minimizing loss. Observe, decide, act." Jaren took a deep breath. He had never been in command of anything larger than a mining rig, yet here he was, responsible for entire civilizations in a simulation that felt frighteningly real. He studied the holographic planets, the distribution of resources, and the movements of fleets. He noticed patterns others might have overlooked, supply lines that could be redirected, cities whose leaders could be persuaded, and areas where aid could prevent panic. "Start by thinking," he murmured to himself. "What would I do if this were real?" Minutes passed as he analyzed the situation. Then, slowly, he began to make decisions. He ordered supplies to be redirected to the most vulnerable cities. He sent negotiators to the leaders of each planet, using logic and compromise to find common ground. He created a temporary alliance, promising aid and protection to those willing to cooperate. It was risky, any mistake could cause the simulation to fail, but he trusted his instincts. The holographic display shifted, showing the results. Cities that had been on the brink of destruction stabilized. Fleets withdrew from direct conflict, holding positions as a truce took shape. The simulation paused and the room fell silent. Adira watched intently, her expression unreadable. After a moment, she spoke. "You have done well. You see patterns differently than we expected. That is your strength. You understand not only what is happening, but why it is happening. Humans can act with empathy, foresight, and creativity, traits no algorithm can replicate perfectly." Jaren felt a small surge of pride. He had faced his first trial, and though it was a simulation, it felt real. For the first time, he realized that being human, ordinary, flawed, but creative was exactly what gave him power. Before he could rest, the next challenge appeared. The holographic star system changed, showing a planet in danger of being destroyed by a natural disaster. A massive storm, stronger than any recorded, threatened to wipe out millions of lives. Robots and automated systems offered solutions, but each one carried risks. Either evacuation would fail or containment would be impossible. Adira turned to him. "This scenario will test your judgment under pressure. You have limited time and limited resources. You must act decisively." Jaren studied the simulation, his mind racing. He remembered how on Vora 9 he had repaired failing machinery under pressure, often improvising when parts or instructions were missing. Now he realized those skills could apply on a much larger scale. He ordered temporary shelters to be constructed in safe zones, created emergency evacuation plans, and coordinated relief efforts for the most vulnerable populations. The storm hit, battering cities with intense winds and rain. The holographic planet shuddered, and holographic citizens fled to safety. Jaren monitored their movements, adjusting his plan as needed. For hours he worked, making decisions with instinct and reasoning combined. When the storm finally subsided, the planet's population was largely safe, and infrastructure damage was minimized. Adira nodded approvingly. "You do not rely solely on procedure or analysis. You combine logic with intuition. That is why you were chosen. That is why humans survive where others might fail." Jaren's confidence grew, but the trials were far from over. The next simulation was unlike anything he had seen. A mysterious alien entity was spreading across a star system, consuming planets and destabilizing orbits. It was fast, intelligent, and nearly unstoppable. Conventional methods of attack failed, and even Adira's own strategies could not fully contain it. "You must find a way to stop it," Adira said quietly. "But you have no weapons, no fleet, no power to command, only your mind." Jaren stared at the simulation, feeling a pang of fear. How could he stop something so vast and dangerous without any tools? Then he remembered something Adira had said. Humans can surprise even the most powerful beings. He looked for patterns, weaknesses, anything the entity overlooked. Slowly, he noticed that it reacted predictably to certain energy fields, avoiding areas with high-frequency resonance. He devised a plan. Using the resources available in the simulation, he created a network of energy fields that trapped the entity, limiting its movement without destroying it. Then he redirected the energy fields in a sequence that forced the entity away from populated systems and into a safe containment zone. The simulation paused, showing the entity neutralized and planets stabilized. Adira's eyes shone with approval. "You see beyond force. You understand patterns, risk, and consequence. You act with creativity, courage, and care. This is why you were chosen, Jaren. This is the value of being human." Jaren felt a mixture of relief and astonishment. Each trial had pushed him beyond what he thought he could do. He had faced conflict, natural disaster, and a powerful alien threat, all within hours, and all in ways that required judgment, empathy, and creativity rather than brute strength. He was learning that his ordinary life on Vora 9 had prepared him in ways he had never imagined. As the simulations ended, Adira led him to a quiet observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, twinkling like jewels against the black canvas of space. Jaren leaned against the railing, taking deep breaths. His mind was still racing, replaying each challenge, each decision, each moment of doubt and clarity. "You did well," Adira said beside him. "Far better than I expected." Jaren shook his head. "I just reacted. I didn't think I was making a difference. I was just trying to survive the simulations." "That is precisely the point," Adira replied. "Humans act without overthinking, but with understanding. You make decisions others cannot. You see solutions where others see only obstacles. That is your gift, and that is why you are here." Jaren felt a warmth spread through him. For the first time, he truly understood what Adira had meant when she chose him. It was not his strength, his knowledge, or his power that mattered. It was his humanity. His ability to think, to feel, and to act in ways no one else could. He looked out at the stars and felt something he had never felt on Vora 9, purpose. A sense that he belonged not just to a single planet, but to something far greater, a galaxy full of challenges, wonders, and possibilities. "You will face more trials," Adira said softly, breaking his thoughts. And they will be harder, but remember what you learned today. Your mind is your strength, your humanity is your power. Trust it, and you will be able to face anything. Jaren nodded. I think I understand now. I'm ready to try. Adira's lips curved into a small smile. Good, that is all I ask for now. Tomorrow we begin the next trial. It will test not only your mind, but your heart, your courage, and your ability to act under uncertainty. But for tonight, rest. You have done enough for one day. Jaren left the training chamber and found a small cabin prepared for him. The room was simple but comfortable, with a view of distant stars through a transparent wall. As he lay on the bed, exhaustion mixed with exhilaration, he reflected on the day's events. Each simulation had been a challenge, a test of what it meant to be human, and a lesson in the power of thought, creativity, and empathy. He realized that his ordinary life had given him extraordinary preparation. Fixing machines, solving problems under pressure, caring for others in his small community, all of it had honed the very skills that now made him valuable on a galactic scale. He had been chosen not by chance, but because humans like him were rare, and rare qualities were exactly what the galaxy needed. And as he drifted to sleep, Jaren understood the truth of Adira's words. Being human was not a weakness, it was a power that could shape the fate of worlds. The calm that followed Jaren's first trials was short-lived. As he adjusted to life aboard Adira Valen's flagship, reports began arriving from distant sectors of the galaxy. Entire star systems were disappearing, swallowed by a mysterious phenomenon that left nothing behind. The Council had seen strange energy signatures, unexplained gravitational anomalies, and vanished colonies, but no one understood what they were facing. Adira gathered the Council immediately. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing stars being consumed by a dark, moving void. Jaren stood among the galaxy's greatest leaders, feeling both awe and fear. The Voidborn, as the phenomenon was soon named, moved faster than any known ship or fleet. It did not attack in the conventional sense. It absorbed planets, technology, and even energy from stars. This is unprecedented, one council member said, its multi-limbed form trembling. Nothing in our records predicts such behavior. It cannot be fought with weapons alone. Adira nodded. We need strategy, insight, and something more. Conventional tactics will fail. That is why Jaren is here. Jaren felt a sudden weight settle on his shoulders. After all he had learned, after the trials that tested his mind, now the galaxy itself demanded his input. He swallowed, his heart pounding. He had faced simulations, yes, but this was real. Lives, planets, and civilizations depended on decisions that he had no right to make, yet here he was, expected to contribute. What do you mean? Jaren asked quietly, almost to himself. How can I make a difference? Adira placed a hand on his shoulder. By thinking like a human, Jaren, by seeing what others cannot, by noticing what is overlooked. You are our advantage, not our strength. The fleet moved quickly. Ships of every shape, size, and technology raced toward the sectors threatened by the Voidborn. Jaren spent hours analyzing reports, reading data streams, and observing the entity's behavior. At first, it seemed random, chaotic, and unstoppable. Planets that were fully prepared vanished in an instant, while others with minimal defenses survived. I don't understand, Jaren said, frustration creeping in. It doesn't make sense. Why some and not others? Adira crouched beside him over a holographic projection. Humans notice patterns others cannot. You see connections that others overlook. Watch closely. Look for behavior that repeats. Jaren stared at the holographic stars, watching the Voidborn move. Then slowly he noticed something subtle. It avoided certain energy fields, shifted direction near gravitational anomalies, and reacted strangely when planets emitted coordinated pulses of energy. He realized that the entity's movement was not entirely random. It followed rules that only a careful observer could detect. I think I see a pattern, Jaren said. It's not attacking randomly. It avoids strong energy fields that resonate at a specific frequency. If we can create a network of those fields, we can redirect it. Adira's eyes shone with approval. Exactly. That is why you were chosen. You see possibilities that others miss. You think beyond brute force. Together, they devised a plan. The fleet would create energy anchors across multiple systems, forming a path to lure the Voidborn into a containment zone far from inhabited worlds. Jaren worked tirelessly, calculating trajectories, timing, and sequences. Every step required precision, intuition, and creative thinking. The first attempt nearly failed. The Voidborn reacted unpredictably, threatening to destroy one of the anchor points. Jaren adjusted the energy frequencies in real time, improvising solutions that no computer or advanced AI could generate. Slowly, the entity responded to the manipulation, moving along the desired path without attacking populated systems. "You're doing it," Adira said, her voice calm but filled with pride. "You are seeing what no one else can see and guiding us through it." For hours, Jaren coordinated the fleet's efforts. He suggested strategic diversions, timing adjustments, and unconventional methods to control the entity. Fleet commanders followed his guidance, amazed at how a single human could influence operations that typically required hundreds of advanced minds. Finally, after a tense sequence of maneuvers, the Voidborn reached the containment zone, a vast field of energy anchors designed to immobilize it safely. The entity shuddered, slowed, and eventually stabilized, unable to escape. Holographic displays confirmed that nearby star systems were safe. The council members erupted in cautious relief. "It is contained," one whispered. "By a human," Adira placed a hand on Jaren's shoulder. "Not just any human. A human who sees, understands, and acts in ways others cannot. That is the power of your kind." Jaren felt a mix of exhaustion and awe. He had just guided the galaxy's most powerful fleet through an unprecedented crisis. The Voidborn had threatened to consume entire civilizations, and he, an ordinary engineer from a mining planet, had helped stop it. For the first time, he realized the truth of Adira's words. Humans were extraordinary when given the chance. As the fleet began repairs and resupply, Adira led Jaren to a quiet observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering against the dark void. Jaren leaned against the railing, taking deep breaths, trying to process what had just happened. "You did more than I expected," Adira said softly. "You anticipated, adapted, and acted. Your humanity made the difference. You trusted your instincts and your empathy. That is why you are here." Jaren shook his head in disbelief. "I just did what I thought was right." "I don't understand how that could stop something that devours entire worlds." "That is exactly the point," Adira replied. "Strength alone cannot overcome every challenge. Intelligence alone cannot solve every problem. Only a human mind can see solutions that others cannot. That is why the galaxy needs humans, ordinary, yet extraordinary in ways that even the strongest or most powerful cannot match." Jaren's chest swelled with a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had been afraid, overwhelmed, and uncertain, and yet he had succeeded. Not because of brute force, not because of power, but because he had relied on his creativity, insight, and courage. As the flagship continued its patrols, Jaren noticed other fleet members looking at him with newfound respect. The galaxy's greatest leaders had always dismissed humans as fragile or insignificant. Now, they were beginning to understand that humans were not only survivors, but innovators, capable of shaping the course of entire civilizations. In the following days, Jaren helped implement strategies to monitor and contain other potential threats. He worked closely with scientists, fleet commanders, and alien strategists, using the lessons from his first trial and the encounter with the Voidborn. He suggested ways to improve defenses, optimize communication between fleets, and predict possible dangers before they became crises. Each time, he noticed the same reaction. Beings who had relied solely on power or algorithms were surprised by the solutions he offered. Simple human creativity, adaptability, and empathy consistently produced results that advanced technology alone could not achieve. One evening, Adira joined him again on the observation deck. The galaxy stretched before them, calm but full of potential danger. "You have done well," she said quietly. "You have shown the value of humanity not just in theory but in practice. You guided us through the first great challenge of this century." Jaren looked at her, a mixture of wonder and exhaustion on his face. I still feel ordinary. I'm just a man who thinks and cares." "Exactly," Adira replied. "That is why you are extraordinary. The galaxy may have weapons, fleets, and superpowers, but it cannot replicate what humans can do. Insight, empathy, courage, and creativity, these are powers in themselves. And you wield them naturally." For the first time, Jaren realized something profound. He had always underestimated himself, believing his life on Vora 9 had been small and insignificant. But every repair, every decision, every problem he had solved had prepared him for this moment. He had been chosen not by chance, but because humans like him were rare, and rare qualities were exactly what the galaxy needed. The Voidborn had been contained, but Jaren knew that more challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. And now he was not just a miner from a backwater planet. He was a guide, a strategist, and a symbol of human ingenuity. As he gazed at the stars, he felt a new sense of purpose. Ordinary humans could change the course of history. Ordinary humans could face extraordinary threats. And ordinary humans, when chosen wisely, could become the most powerful force in the galaxy, not through strength, but through thought, courage, and heart. Adira's presence beside him reminded him of another truth. Even the most powerful beings in the galaxy recognized the unique value of humanity, and that recognition was just the beginning. Jaren smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and anticipation in his expression. The galaxy was safe for now, thanks to his choices, but he knew this was only the beginning. More threats, more challenges, and more opportunities to prove the value of human insight lay ahead. And for the first time, he felt ready to face them. The galaxy had quieted after the containment of the Voidborn. For weeks, fleets patrolled sectors that had been threatened, ensuring no further dangers emerged. The Council praised Adira Valen for her leadership, and Jaren's role was quietly acknowledged. But it had not yet fully sunk in that an ordinary human had guided the most powerful beings in the galaxy through an unprecedented crisis. Jaren spent hours on the observation deck of the flagship, gazing at the stars. Each point of light reminded him of civilizations saved and lives preserved. Yet amid the calm, a quiet unease lingered. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and filled with challenges no single mind could foresee. Adira approached him silently, her presence steady and reassuring. "You've done more than any of us expected," she said softly. Jaren shook his head. I just reacted. I didn't do anything heroic. I followed what felt right, what made sense. I just thought." "That is exactly why you were chosen," Adira said, her voice calm yet firm. The galaxy needed someone who would act not out of power, not out of fear, but out of insight, empathy, and creativity. Someone who would see possibilities others could not. That is the human advantage, Jaren. He turned to her, searching her eyes for understanding. "But why me? There are millions of humans. Why pick someone like me?" Adira's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Because not all humans are alike. Some follow rules without question. Some are brilliant yet rigid in thought. Some are strong yet short-sighted. But you combine ordinary experience with extraordinary perception. You notice what others miss. You care where others are indifferent. You act where others hesitate. That is rare, even among humans, and the galaxy needed rare." Jaren felt a warmth spread through him. He had always believed himself ordinary, insignificant. And yet, in the vastness of the galaxy, his ordinary life had become the very reason he mattered. "Do you really believe humans can make a difference?" he asked quietly, almost to himself. Adira's gaze was steady, unwavering. "I don't just believe it, I have seen it, and you are the proof." That night, the flagship received an urgent transmission. A neighboring star system was experiencing instability, a sudden flare from a dying star threatening to engulf several inhabited planets. Jaren's heart raced. This was the first true test since the Voidborn, and the stakes were real. Adira turned to him. "You will lead the response. You will decide the actions. We will follow your guidance." Jaren swallowed hard. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, but he remembered the lessons of the trials and the Voidborn. He had learned to trust his instincts, to analyze patterns, and to act with empathy. He had learned that ordinary humans, when attentive and courageous, could achieve extraordinary things. He studied the data. The star's flare was unpredictable, but he noticed a subtle rhythm in the energy pulses, a pattern that could be leveraged to stabilize orbiting planets temporarily. He quickly devised a plan. Energy shields would be deployed strategically, evacuation routes prepared, and coordinated signals sent to planetary populations to maximize safety. The fleet moved under his guidance. Every decision had to be precise. Too little and the planets would suffer, too much, and the system's stability could collapse. Jaren worked tirelessly, recalculating sequences, predicting energy surges, and improvising solutions as the star's behavior shifted. Hours passed, and tension gripped the bridge. The flare reached its peak, threatening to consume everything. Jaren adjusted the shields, timed planetary rotations, and guided evacuation efforts. Every move required intuition, courage, and creativity. It was a test of everything he had learned and everything he had been chosen to do. Slowly, the system stabilized. The star's energy pulses normalized, the planets held their orbits, and the population was safe. Relief swept through the fleet. Holographic displays confirmed the outcome. The system had survived, largely intact thanks to Jaren's guidance. Adira approached him once the crisis ended. "You see what I mean, Jaren?" she said. "You act with insight and understanding. You see solutions where others see only danger. That is why you were chosen. That is why humans matter." Jaren shook his head, disbelief mingled with pride. I never thought I could do something like this. I'm just ordinary." Adira smiled. "Ordinary, yes, but extraordinary when it counts. You are proof that humans, when trusted, can change the course of history. Strength is not only in power or weapons. Strength is in thought, courage, and heart." Over the next days, the Council convened to recognize the events that had unfolded. Fleet leaders, alien strategists, and planetary representatives all acknowledged Jaren's role. It was unprecedented. A human, previously unknown beyond his home planet, had contributed to decisions that saved billions of lives and preserved entire star systems. Yet, the true revelation came when Adira addressed him privately. She led him to the observation deck once more, the stars stretching endlessly before them. "There is one final truth," she said softly. "The reason I chose you was not just to solve these crises, it was to show the galaxy what humans are capable of. The galaxy has long relied on strength, on technology, and on power. But humans are different. You see possibilities others miss. You care when others are indifferent. You create solutions when others surrender to fear or logic alone. And now the galaxy knows it too." Jaren listened, his mind racing. "So, all of this, it wasn't just about the Voidborn or the star system." "No," Adira said. "It was about proving that humanity has value on a scale no one suspected. You were chosen to survive, to observe, to guide, and to demonstrate the potential of ordinary humans in extraordinary circumstances. Your decisions have inspired leaders, saved lives, and reminded the galaxy that power is not the only measure of worth." Jaren felt a surge of understanding. The quiet miner from Vora 9, the boy who had fixed machines, repaired equipment, and lived a simple life, had been thrust into the center of galactic history. And in doing so, he had proven the essential truth, that humans, though seemingly ordinary, could accomplish what others could not. As he stood beside Adira, gazing at the stars, he realized that his journey had changed him forever. He was no longer the man who had watched the sky from a lonely mining station. He was a human who had faced the unknown, made difficult choices, and shaped the fate of billions. "You were right," he said quietly. "Humans can make a difference." Adira's smile was gentle, filled with pride and certainty. "Not just can, Jaren, you have, and now others will follow in your footsteps. They will learn to trust the potential of humanity. They will see what I have known all along, that humans are extraordinary in ways the galaxy is only beginning to understand." Jaren looked out at the stars, feeling a profound sense of purpose. He had been ordinary, yet chosen for reasons that went beyond power or skill. He had acted with courage, insight, and empathy, and the results had changed the course of history. He understood now that humanity's greatest power was not strength, but the ability to think, care, and act when others could not. As the flagship sailed through the galaxy, Jaren knew that challenges would continue to arise. There would be threats, mysteries, and crises yet to come. But he also knew something even more important. Humans had a place among the stars, not as pawns or bystanders, but as beings capable of shaping the fate of entire civilizations. Adira's hand rested briefly on his shoulder. "You have done more than survive. You have inspired. You have led, you have shown the galaxy that being human is a power in itself. Never forget that." Jaren nodded, a quiet determination in his eyes. He had been chosen for a reason, an ordinary human, now extraordinary. And as the stars stretched endlessly before him, he knew that his journey was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders, dangers, and possibilities, but he was ready. The most powerful woman in the galaxy had chosen him, not for strength, not for fame, not for power, but for what he already was, human. and that, he realized, was more powerful than anything else in the universe. For the first time in his life, Jaren felt completely alive, ready to face whatever the future held, knowing that the smallest spark, a single human mind, could ignite the greatest change. And in that moment, as the flagship sailed past glowing nebulae and distant star systems, Jaren understood the truth that would guide him forever. Ordinary humans could do extraordinary things.